miss out, Earth, Wind, and Fire are set to light up the stage with their timeless hits and electrifying performance. Secure your tickets now to see them at the Ledge Amphitheater on August 10th and get ready to groove to the legendary sounds of this iconic band. Get all the details at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
See it in your face, Mark.
What's that?
You, Teneby, Helvey. Big night tonight.
Yeah, it should be exciting.
Lavelle E. Neal III called it the biggest game of this century. Why do you laugh? This is big.
Well, Saturday's the 45th anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. I'd say that was just slightly bigger when you have an Olympic. I mean, in any Olympics. Particular when Russia's involved, and they were the real evil empire, CCCP. This was not Russia today, where you got NHL players like in the Olympics playing in the NHL. This was pre-NHL. They were the mortal enemy. They almost didn't play, remember, the Olympics because they had invaded Afghanistan, and the whole thing was almost called off. But so I wouldn't exactly call it. Or any Olympics, really. I mean, it's exciting, and it's great, and it's great for the sport. The NHL deserves all the kudos they're getting for creating this. Next year, they will have the Olympics, so obviously you won't have the four nations.
Well, why can't we do both?
Well, because the Olympics will be going on at the same time when the breaks go on.
Well, can't you just,
why would you do both?
Well, why not? The NBA does too. They do their championships, they do the Olympics, and they'll do their NBA Cup. They will do their NBA Cup.
Well, why can't you? I don't know all the specifics, but I just say it doesn't seem to make me because of the break that's necessary and the time. They still have to get 82 games in. It doesn't make a lot of sense to do two breaks like that, and it would definitely take away.
And you already have one international tournament going, so.
Right? I mean, everyone's going to be concentrating is it in Italy, right?
That's the problem with the
world. Why are you the contrarian all the time?
I'm not being a contrarian. I'm just saying, why are you being the contrarian? Why do I say, hey, why can't they do all three? And then you're right, well, you can't do all three.
Well, I'm just saying
why can't we trade J.J. McCarthy? Can't do that.
Why can't they sign 5 running backs? How can you not be nominated for preposterous statement when that is the most preposterous statement I've heard all year?
Saquon Barkley was one of the running backs that I suggested.
Saquon, yeah.
I suggested
by himself, yes. But he's not going to come to a football team with Derrick Henry.
Why wouldn't he?
Because he'll not get the ball. These guys are volume running backs.
So you're speaking for every. Have you talked to Saquon and asked him if he would have been willing to share the ball with Derrick?
I highly doubt if Saquon. But
did you ask him? Did you ask him?
When would I talk to Saquon Barkley?
Then you don't.
When has it ever happened in the history of the NFL when you've had?
Well, Zonka, Kick, and Morris. There was 3 of them that shared the ball. They want to guess what? And guess what the result of that was? Do you remember?
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, they had
what was the result of those?
They won a Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
But that was because of their no-name defense.
And how many?
So the
offense had nothing to do with it.
Paul Warfield.
Okay.
Yeah, it had something to do with it, but I wouldn't call those 3. I mean, they had. Yeah, there's been 2 good running backs, or a third as a receiver. Mercury Morris was more of a receiver. Okay. But the idea of having 5...
You're the one that's the contrary. And every time all I said was, hey, why can't we, why don't we do the Olympics? And this was such a rousing success. No, why don't we do a Four Nations thing again?
I explained to you because I don't think it's possible because of the time off that's necessary when you're still trying to jam an entire regular season in. When the season's going to end in July?
Well, they play in almost to July now, so what's an extra? Shorten it, just make the Nations thing, just make that... Well, make that a week.
Okay. I mean,
the whole point of the Four Nations face-off was to replace the international hockey that they've been lacking. So when you have international hockey in an Olympic year, you don't need to have the Four Nations face-off.
No, the reason they did it was lacking because they knew that the players were putting forth zero effort in the All-Star game.
It wasn't even an All-Star game thing. The players have been fighting for years because they want to play international hockey, as you can tell by the way the effort level they've put in.
Yeah. It's fun. But in getting back to Lavelle's statement, no, it's not the biggest game, and it's far from it. It's an interesting contrast. It's certainly stirred up emotions between Canadians and American fans. That's all great. It's in Boston tonight. It's back and forth with that. But unless Russia's involved, next year the Olympics, as we saw before, the Olympics are far more. I'm going to say competitive, but interesting because, you're playing for that gold medal. So I don't know if Lavelle actually said that. The biggest, he's.
What
the reason it's big though is because these level of players haven't played against each other in international player because they haven't had the pros going to the Olympics, which is what they fought for.
Correct. When you have
these groups of players have not gone against each other in international play,
and that goes back to even 1980. It was a dream team. It wasn't. It was all college players. A lot of from Minnesota and Boston. That's who played the best players in the world that particular year.
By the way, this century wouldn't include 1980 anyway.
No, that's true.
So do you want to apologize to Lavelle?
I'm sorry, Lavelle.
Want to apologize to me?
No.
Okay. You're unbelievable.
Thank you.
You march in lockstep with the prevailing wisdom, whichever way the wind is blowing. Prevailing wisdom. You just go along with everybody's saying that, so they must be right, so I'll go along with this.
I don't even know
Instead of saying, you know what? Maybe I'll think out of the box here. Maybe think of a different approach to something.
I do that often.
You do?
Yes.
Well, give me an example, and I'll write it down. Because I don't think there has been one lately. So we haven't talked about it yet. And Nordo thought I would dedicate the entire show to it. Wembanyama, expected to miss the rest of the season. Blood clot in his shoulder.
Ouch.
Obviously, bad break for the youngster. I don't know if San Antonio was going to get to the NBA Finals or not, but
they were probably going to be a play-in team.
So it's obviously it's more bad for the individual than the team, really.
That's more bad for the league. Yeah. I mean, he sells tickets. He's
deep vein thrombosis, blood clot in his right shoulder is what the diagnosis is.
I don't even. It came back from the All-Star game, and they discovered it. I'm sure he had plenty of discomfort, and they did the exam and they found it. I've never heard of such a thing, but it sounds, obviously, it's serious enough that it's sidelining him for the rest of the season. But hopefully the young man will make a full recovery because the league is so much better with him in it. I mean, he's such a unique individual, unique player with his stature, his ability, and we've seen him, literally grow into the game and become a big star. So it's really too bad for the whole league because wherever San Antonio goes on the road, if you're a fan of your home team, you go to see him play. It's one of those players who go, I like to see our team play, but if you're not very good, you're going to see Wembanyama play, and that's just it sucks.
You're getting ripped. This emailer says Rosen just said Mercury Morris was more of a receiver.
Well, I know
he had 190 carries and only 54 receptions.
I know. He was both.
Then why did you say he was more of a receiver? Because he wasn't.
I think of him as being because Zonka.
Because I had you backed into a corner, you didn't know what else to say.
Zonka and Kick were the 1-2 punch, and Bob Greasy didn't have to throw the ball that much because they had Zonka and Kick and Mercury Morris, but they did have some pretty good receivers too back in that day. Warfield. But they also had one hell of a defense. And they had one of the best centers in the history of the game. He's from Minnesota. Yeah, he's one of us. He is one of us. Was one of us. He was one of us. Yeah. So there you go. Yeah. What else was I going to bring up to you? The hell was the story? I mean, I talked about it for the. Oh, I wanted to say this. I'm sorry. Well, now I can't because I can't find the story. Because I'd mentioned the high school hockey goaltender from Minnetonka, who is going to be playing in the state high school hockey tournament, and she's also going to be playing. Because Tennessee and I were talking about because in the girls' state high school hockey tournament. The first 4 games on yesterday were all shutouts. All 4 games were shutouts, which I asked him to be, and he said he wasn't sure. I got to think that has to be very, very rare to have all 4 games. Yeah, I mean, there's always, I'd say, the opening day of but 4 for 4? Yeah, I'm going to say it's never happened before in the history. Normally. You're probably right. I can't imagine. But I was going to, I just found the story and I lost it again. But the gal that plays for Minnetonka, she's going to go play for the University of Minnesota. She's 15-1 this year, and her save percentage is 95%. That's not bad. That's really, really good. Yeah, AA started. I haven't seen any scores. I haven't looked, but they started this afternoon, obviously. Yeah. And then the boys next week, Tennessee then? No, I think it's usually 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. It's wrestling normally. Okay. If it goes according to normal, I mean, it's usually girls hockey, then state wrestling, and then the state high school boys hockey tournament. And then we go to basketball. Then girls basketball, then boys basketball. Right. I don't think it's the bad.
And then we're done with the winter sports, and then we move on to baseball. And
by then we'll be in the midst of hopefully playoff runs for both the Wild and the Wolves.
Yeah.
And Twins baseball, and
I've got some numbers on those. Some odds that might be of interest to both you and tend to be regarding the National Basketball Association and chances of winning the title and such like that. How they've changed since the beginning of the season as we go into, it's not the second half of the season because we're well beyond that. It was about 25, upper 20s, yeah, something like that to go. So we'll take a look at that. Layla Hemp is her name, and her two older sisters played D1. I thought two older brothers also played hockey, too, so it's a hockey family.
Sure is.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. Tennebee's got a keyword, though, for us to try to put $1,000 in somebody's hand.
Yeah, the fan wants to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Just enter the keyword bonus at KFAN.com now. Free shot of winning. That keyword is bonus. Enter now, KFAN.com. On KFAN, we have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. To enter the keywords and learn more, head over to KFAN.com.
Deep vein thrombosis is what it's called, according to the Cleveland Clinic. I called them during the break. Deep vein thrombosis occurs when a thrombus, that's a blood clot, develops in veins deep in your body because your veins are injured or the blood flowing through them is too sluggish. It's not clear what exactly caused Wembanyama's blood clot, but typically inactivity, potentially through travel or time on the bench, and dehydration are possible culprits. Wembanyama's clot was discovered, according to Athletics' Sam Amick, because Wembanyama had experienced low energy throughout the All-Star weekend and the days that followed. Blood clots are rare in the NBA, but they do happen. The outcomes for players who get them can vary wildly. Says here that Chris Bosh notably lost his career to blood clots.
He sure did.
He suffered his first one in 2015, returned in 2016, only to endure another one soon after, and eventually the NBA deemed Bosch's condition to be career-ending. Part of the problem for Bosh was that he needed to take blood-thinning medication to treat his condition, and doing so while playing a contact sport like basketball creates serious danger for excessive bleeding. Bosh has not played in the NBA since 2016. So in other words, this could be much more serious than just, well, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks or at the end of the season and be back next year. We don't know. And it would be devastating because is this year 2 for him or 3? I mean, he's 2. So, he's from France, right? Is that correct?
Right.
And
he's friends with Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, and he was going to be just a, everybody said.
Well, it just sounds, anybody hears the term blood clot, associated with any, mostly older people, obviously, but it can affect anybody. And you do have to, if you've taken blood thinners to relieve it, and obviously you can't play you cannot get injured, you cannot suffer a deep bruise, a fall, whatever it might be, endangers you, and even more so, no matter what your age is. So, and that's what I think, without knowing all the specifics of Chris Bosh, but that eventually ended his career prematurely. And you say you hope for the young man's got the right medical attention and can take care of himself to get better for next year. But man, that's just a real blow to the entire league, actually. Yeah,
but even more serious would be his career.
Well, of course, he just started it.
It's a possibility that this
it's sad.
This could be could be career threatening, but again, that's that's getting a little ahead of ourselves. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But it looks like he is
they're
definitely out for the season.
I think there's 6 games under 500 now. There'd definitely be a fringe kind of play-in team. They got a lot of work to do just to get in, but still, that's not the point. Certainly today, when you hear a story like that magnitude.
Give me a second here. I've got these numbers for you that I think these might be of interest to the two of you, and certainly to Mark Rosen. Got to go one more page. Hold on, one more. I got plenty here. I got a lot of research I did.
You do. I'm impressed.
I was up late last night. What time did you fall asleep, do you think, last night?
Earlier than...
just roughly about what time?
About 11.
Yeah. At 11 o'clock, I was just diving into NBA. After looking at NHL NFL, Major League Baseball.
Right.
I did a deep dive, believe it or not, on dog mushing, dog sledding, because the Iditarod's coming up. And there's a gal who was originally from Brooklyn Center, who's in Duluth now, and she's going to be participating. This will be her first ever Iditarod. She's 32 years old.
Yeah.
Her name is Emily Ford, and she's going to be participating. And I got a feeling she might be, before it's all said and done, because apparently she's pretty good at it, she might be on Mount Mushmore.
I was waiting for that.
Eventually. Emily Ford, keep an eye on her and give her the best of luck. Originally from Brooklyn, I think Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park.
Well, it'd be nice to get her on the show sometime.
We might.
Well, to hear the story behind the story. She's a fascinating sport.
Yeah, she was first into like walking or running trails, and then she just caught the bug, and then it's astonishing. I mean, they live it constantly because they got to take care of their dog teams, and they have dozens of dogs, and they got to feed them and exercise them, and there's a lot of work to it. 2024-2025 NBA championship odds to win. Who do you think is the favorite right now in the national? Now, this is now, not from when the season started, but right now, as of today's 2/20, so as of yesterday, as of 2/19/25, who do you think is the odds-on favorite to win the National Basketball Association?
Pretty close toss-up between, obviously, the two first-place teams, OKC and Cleveland. I mean, they both have the same records, but I'd give a slight edge to OKC, but not much.
They have the Boston Celtics as
they still do
the favorite team. Wow. They are 11-5, or plus 220.
Well, I guess they get the pedigree. They won last year, and
I think also it's a little bit, you would think on paper, an easier journey to get there because of a weaker conference, and you might not have to play as many games and blah blah blah. The Oklahoma City Thunder are next. They're at 9-4 or plus 225.
Right. And
then your Cleveland Cavaliers are 7-1.
What a great season they're having. Man, they have not let up.
LA Lakers are now 9-1. Must be the addition of Doncic. That's the odds.
Yeah, they sure
9-1.
looked good last night. They blew a game against Charlotte, and Doncic was awful.
He's fat.
He's fat, and he's over, he's not motivated.
You ready to apologize to Nico Harrison now?
I am.
Everybody, and by the way, if you remember, I wasn't all over the guy. There was the one guy that was writing for CBS Sports, and they ran a story forever. He basically said the guy should be, not malpractice or something like that. He just thought it was the worst thing that ever happened. Yeah. This kind of like, and I said, well, let's wait a minute. Let's play this thing. Let's hear a little bit more. And again, it's probably going to be work out in the long run. It's lopsided in the Lakers' favor, but let's let this thing play out.
Speaking of the Lakers,
and see what Doncic does.
LeBron missed a game-ending long three-pointer. I saw the highlight of it because they had a stat about Ant last week when he has not been able to connect on a potential game-winning shot in the last 10 seconds of a game.
He's struggling.
Yeah, and LeBron is the same way. He doesn't
have a clutch gene in him.
Well, not based on this. Statistics don't lie.
Would you agree with me, Tony? He just talked about how LeBron, doesn't hit as many game-winning shots. You think? I think Bronny has more of a clutch gene in him,
100%.
Than LeBron.
That's what I've always thought.
So the Lakers have the fourth best odds to win the NBA title, followed by the Denver Nuggets.
Ridiculous.
Nuggets and Knickerbockers are both 14-1. No, Bodega Cats team.
Yeah, I understand that.
Might go down as the worst trade in Minnesota sports history?
No. I mean, first of all, you can't judge it yet because, two guys that they got basically for them are still out. And they've played some this year, and they were getting better.
They were okay.
But I wouldn't, I still wouldn't, put
Bodega Cat was
Herschel Walker trade was.
Well, that was different, though, because they thought they were one player away from winning it all.
Doesn't matter. I mean, it still turned out to be a horrendous trade because they gave the Dallas Cowboys, like 3 Super Bowls, basically.
Mm-hmm. There was more to it than that.
I know.
People always want to just say it was because you look at some of those players. They drafted a handful of really good players, but there's other guys on the club, too.
Yeah.
Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm. Your team. Jimmy Bucket's team.
Think about this. The Golden State Warriors are now 28-1. And this was a club that, basically, if the playoffs started today, are they even in? I don't even know if they're in right now. But I think great NBA minds, great basketball minds like mine, they see the difference that Jimmy Butler makes.
I'd love to play Golden State.
Golden State would barely be in. You know who they'd play?
The Wolves.
Your Minnesota Timberwolves.
I'd love to see that.
No, that's wrong, because seven plays 8. I'm sorry.
Oh, right. There'd be a
7 plays 8, then 9 plays 10.
When Jimmy's locked in, him and Steph, could you make the argument that's the best 1-2 punch in basketball right now? Steph. Well, you laugh. What's better? And don't give me Ant Nas.
Ant Nas.
Yeah, I saw. You think Ant Nas are better than?
I think Cat and Brunson are pretty damn good. I think Tatum and what's his name in Boston are. I can't think of his name. I was MVP last year in the finals. Boston's got a couple of.
Okay, yeah, I know. I'm not saying that they are the best 1-2 punch, but it's pretty good.
It's pretty good. I mean, I'd love to see that series.
I would too.
Yeah, I know you would. Jimmy Bucket's coming. That would be a bestseller, as they say.
The Grizz are also at 20.
Yeah, that's a team no one talks about.
If you're waiting for your Timberwolves, we've got to wait a while yet.
I'm sure.
Milwaukee Bucks are at 33-1. Then you have two clubs at 40-1. The Dallas Mavericks, without Doncic, without street clothes, are still better odds to win than the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Well, that's ridiculous.
40-1, and the Clips are 40-1. Yeah. The Rockets are 45-1, and then your Minnesota Timberwolves 50-1 to win the NBA championship.
Yeah. I would definitely put Houston ahead of Dallas, and what was the other team you just mentioned?
Clips.
The Clips. Yeah, they're a better team. The Wolves play theirs tomorrow night.
The Wolves actually started the season at 11-1.
Right.
And now they're down to 50.
Well, I think when they get healthy, hopefully sooner than later, I think those odds will definitely change because they'll be. You got to get a top 6. You want to get a top 6 spot, but I think they're better when healthy, better than the Clippers, better than the Warriors, better than the Lakers, and the Lakers will end up probably with a better record.
The Thunder, Nuggets, Lakers, Grizzlies, Clippers, and Warriors all have better odds to win the Western Conference than the Minnesota Timberwolves, including the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah. Well, the Wolves match up well against Denver. They always have. I like their opportunities. Just whether you got to have enough healthy bodies.
I think they matched up well when they had Bodega Cat. But last I checked, Bodega Cat doesn't wear.
No, he does not.
Timberwolves uniform.
He's in Madison Square Garden.
You are correct. Yep. We'll pause. One final segment to go with the legendary Mark Rosen, 10 to be in the Common Man, right here on the Fan.
Time, and you can watch all the state championship action on 45 TV or by downloading the KSTP app on your smart TV, or head over to our contest page for your chance to win all sessions tickets for this weekend's girls hockey tournament to catch the action in person. That's KFAN.com. Keyword contest to enter.
Final segment of the day. I'm Comedy's 10B's Mark Rosen. I know both of you are rooting for the United States because you're both stars and stripes forever. Our country, our country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. But do you both believe the United States will win tonight?
I think it'll be very close.
Who are you picking? He won't say.
I would need to know the exact health of USA. So basically, you could argue their second best defenseman is not playing tonight, Charlie McAvoy. They held out some players against Sweden. Now, that game didn't mean anything to them, but Austin Matthews was held out. Matthew Tkachuk was held out. I know Brady Tkachuk missed practice yesterday because he was sick. So it's a little hard. If I knew everyone was 100%, I think I would pick Team USA still. Just even though, Canada didn't play with their best defenseman against USA in Cale Makar, and he'll be there tonight. That's a difference maker.
Yep.
But, where USA has the edge is that goalie. They don't have the star power Canada has, but probably has better depth in terms of your third and fourth lines.
Okay.
And just overall depth. So if I knew Canada or USA was all healthy, I think I would take USA again. But it'll be close. It'll be an overtime 1-goal game.
Canada just mentioned, it's who's going to have the hot goaltender. I just think Canada, psychologically, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Is he on the team?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
How about Tays and Toes?
Yeah. They got a couple of real superstars that I think are may have a slight edge, but I agree. I mean, obviously, I'm hoping it's going to be a 1-goal type game, but you got to get some puck luck. You got to take advantage of your power play, and
let me ask you both. Let me ask you both a question. What if the United States was to get out to a 2-0 lead?
Oh, no. Turn it off.
I think it's better to just keep it scoreless for as long as you possibly can.
I tend to agree with you. I get there. This was Ben Gessling. This just popped up later this morning, late morning. 10 o'clock is when it was posted on FishRapFactoryWest.com. Vikings, U.S. Bank Stadium ranked NFL's best in Voice of the Fan survey.
Yeah.
And when I first glanced at the headline, I thought they went Voice of the Vikings from the fan, Paul Allen. I thought it was Paul Allen being voted the best play-by-play guy in the country, and I think he is. But that's not what the story is. It says only 2 teams finished with a better home record in 2024 than the Vikings had at U.S. Bank Stadium. Nobody is more successful at sending fans home with a positive experience. The Vikings and U.S. Bank Stadium finished first in the NFL's 2024 Voice of the Fan survey, which asked fans who attended a game to rate their satisfaction with everything from pregame entertainment to concessions, game day staff, and team attorneys. No, I just threw that in there.
Well, she deserves a lot of credit.
The team set a record in the overall game day satisfaction category while finishing first in game entertainment and earning top 5 finishes in 5 of the survey's 9 main categories. Your thoughts?
Well, Brian Harper and the crew, I think anyone who attended games at U.S. Bank know, and even comparing it to, I went to L.A. and I didn't travel this year, and SoFi Stadium, the pregame introductions and all that kind of stuff pale by comparison to what the Vikings do. But it's the entire experience, and they have a ton of people, and they spend a lot of time, a lot of money behind the scenes working on those experiences. There's always going to be flies in the ointment. The concourses might be a little thick in certain spots. Concessions may not be exactly the way you want it, but overall, I'd say the game day experience is and proven again. It's A+, I think, for the fans, from the pregame warm up, the pregame introductions, the video boards that they use, everything about it. You've had to do it that way. You've had to have more with fantasy football type of thing. You have to be you have to mingle with the fans basically in their own way, sitting in the seat as if you're sitting at home, with out-of-town scores, out-of-town highlights, whatever you can to improve the game day experience. And they've done quite a good job of it. Andrew
Miller is the Vikings COO. Yes. He said in a statement, "These incredible rankings reflect the dedication, energy, and commitment of our entire staff, as well as Karn and Mark."
I don't think he said that.
I made that up. As the collaboration with the Minnesota Sports Facilities Authority, ASM, Aramark, and all of our stadium partners. We always seek to provide a world-class experience for Vikings fans who believe are the most passionate fans in the NFL. We're honored they rated their experience positively with such record-breaking marks.
That's good. That's great. Kudos to those
Then
guys.
it says the team's 107-person game day production, which is lauded annually with Sports Entertainment Awards, ranked as the league's best and most family-friendly, while the Skol Chant helped the Vikings finish first in team fan rituals category. The Skol Chant. Tennessee, you ready? Skol! 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 The Skol thing is unique and it's ours. I think the rest of the league laughs at us.
Well, I think they
think it's silly. They don't understand what they go. Skol, what's that?
Where did what was it? A rugby team or something, or soccer team? They got it from. But it's caught on here, and we the famous shot of Sean Payton doing the Skol chant right before the Minneapolis Miracle was classic. And you have fun with it. I mean, opposing players. They pick off a pass for return it for a touchdown. They do the Skol chant in the end zone. It's funny. It's good. Let them have some fun with it. I mean, that's the whole point. It's not like, you're dissing it. If anything, it's an acknowledgement that, you recognize it's part of coming here, part of the experience.
Is Do you think what would have really added to the fan experience and entertainment would have been like getting to the NFC Championship game here, like winning Week 18 and then getting home field advantage and then playing a couple of games? That may have added.
That would have helped a little bit getting that bye. I mean, you think about that Sunday morning, and I'm thinking, the Vikings are on a roll. They're playing awfully well.
Correct.
Playing the Lions, and they had a terrific game with here. I'm thinking this is potentially go down the wire. The Lions are beaten up on defense. We've seen that. It's going to be a hell of a football game. Give them a great chance to do something that's really tough to do. Getting that number 1 seed, getting that first round bye, and knowing you're going to be at home. And we all know what happened. And they didn't recover from it at all. And but that was a kick in the pants for sure. And they didn't recover mentally, I don't think, against the Rams either. That was even more of a butt kicking. The Lions, at least they had chance after chance after chance in the red zone to convert and make a game of that, and then obviously got away from them.
Now you're getting ripped again.
For what?
It says, now Rosen just said Bob Greasy didn't have a lot of pass attempts. Maybe that's because he only played 5 games that season. Earl Morrall was the starting quarterback for most of that season.
I'm talking about his career.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that season. You're talking about the undefeated season?
Well, I don't think that's right.
I don't need. I have to look that up.
Did Earl Morrall really play in the undefeated season?
I just remember that.
I thought Greasy was I thought Bobby Greasy played that in, but maybe he didn't.
The one game they played the Vikings here at Met Stadium, and
go to 1972.
Bob Lurtsema.
Greasy broke his ankle in Week 5. Leaving Earl Morrall to start the remainder of the regular season. Though Greasy relieved Morrall in the second half of the AFC Championship game, and then he started in Super Bowl 7.
Yes, I thought he played in the big game. I did. I remembered him playing in the big game that year.
They must have played the Vikings early that season, because I remember the Vikings had him on their heels, and Bob Lurtsema was called, he laughed about it for years, called for roughing the passer on a play that would have basically ended the undefeated season before it really got started. Because I think Greasy was playing at that time. Earl Morrall, my God,
he was a hell of a quarterback.
I know, but he was a game manager.
So the Vikings played the Dolphins Week 3 that year, huh?
Yeah, I think they did.
16-14.
That's what I'm saying.
Dolphins won.
Lurtsema got called for roughing the passer. Otherwise, they would have won the game, and that would have ended their streak before it really got rolling. And then they went on and obviously didn't lose a game the whole year.
Earl Morrall just a game manager, really?
Well, don't you think of him that way? Do you think of him as being...
He led the Baltimore Colts to a Super Bowl, too.
When you look at Earl Morrall's athletic ability, and I know it's apples and oranges compared to quarterbacks today.
I think Earl Morrall was a hell of a...
He couldn't run from here to the wall.
Well, none of those guys could. Unitas had...
I know. Unitas had the high tops. He couldn't run from John Brody. None of those guys had, except for Fran.
I think you're
diminishing him.
I think you're diminishing the contributions of Earl Morrall.
He won the MVP that year.
Yeah,
I know. That's what I'm saying, though. I don't think of Earl Morrall. Well, his name never comes up in the context. You just said
he's a game manager. He won the MVP award.
I think he had a hell of a team around him.
Of course, yeah,
he did.
Well, clearly they were undefeated.
Yeah, they were. That's what I'm saying. I think.
Let me guess. Anybody could have
Sam Darnold could have won the MVP that year.
So Tom Brady is just what'd you call him?
No.
Well, he's a game manager.
Yeah, the year they went undefeated until the playoffs.
No, a little different.
Just game manager.
No.
Why is that different?
Not at all.
A heck of a team around him.
What were Morrall's numbers tend to be that year? Won the MVP. Won undefeated.
I'm more of a Greg Landry guy.
My guess is
Remember when Tom Maddy had to play quarterback? He was a running back. He had to come in and...
Well, yeah, they didn't throw the ball very much back then.
No, they didn't have to with that team.
His rating was 91, though.
Yeah.
Pretty good quarterback.
83 of 150 for 1,360 yards, 11 tutties, 7
hand
interceptions.
Hand the ball to Zonka, hand the ball to kick, throw a short pass to Warfield, and let him run 40 yards. Not much you had to do.
Tarkenton
he had a year with Baltimore in 1968 where they went 13-1 with Morrall at quarterback.
Yeah.
And went to the big game and played the Jets.
And they got beat.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he didn't rise to the occasion against Willie Joe. He did not. That was one of the biggest upsets in NFL history. I think the Colts were 17-point favorites.
So it's all on Morrall.
Well, not all, but I don't think he helped.
He led the league in passer rating that year by the year. No. 1972.
Yeah,
that's a game manager, sure.
Relative.
Now, remember when I was, I kept talking about, I called them the decimated Detroit defense, and people were getting tired
over and over again.
Saying it was overrated.
Yeah, right.
This is how bad it was. This came up in a story a week ago, and you weren't here for this when I used it.
Okay.
Amon-Ra St. Brown was saying, Eagles get to host the first game of the season next year. We want them.
Yeah.
So Detroit wants to play him. And one of the things he said was, you would see what our healthy defense, how that bleep operates.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what it says in the next paragraph. Lions did have plenty of injuries on their defense last season, as they started 30 players last year, tied for the most by any NFL team on one side of the ball since the 1970 merger. So
I'm surprised that was tied. I'm surprised it didn't destroy the next closest.
But there you go. Then it says they allowed 32.5 points per game and 7.4 yards per play in December, the most yards per play allowed by any team in December in the big game era. And you're wondering why it was so shocking that Washington won the game with that high-powered offense they had with the rookie of the year at quarterback. I just don't understand why people were so shocked at it. Look at those defensive numbers and how good Washington was moving the ball, especially late in the season. It just seemed like it was surprising.
Do they keep
maybe,
the same training staff? Or do they make any changes with their training staff?
I don't think so. Only the Twins use that as an excuse. Other teams don't do that. But think about this. When they had most of their starters in, they allowed just 16.4 points per game in September through November and missed 5 week one starters in their playoff opener. So 5 starters. Almost half the defensive starters were just gone. So
the Eagles play here this year. I know the Eagles play the Vikings at U.S. Bank. Unusual. It seems like Vikings are always playing there. But I agree that would be a very attractive opening night game. Would be the Lions against the Eagles. A healthy Detroit team against them. That would be a terrific opener. We're
broadcasting, by the way, from the climate-controlled confines of the 651 Carpets Plus studios, and I'm about to read a text from the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. It says, Common, I'm watching the first spring training game between the Cubs and Dodgers. Just had the first appeal of the new ball strike system. Umpire called a ball. It was a strike. Took all of 10 seconds. What does Rosie think of that?
I like it.
Do you like that?
I do. I think that we've had this discussion before with the way technology is being used. And I think the key thing that gentleman said, it took 10 seconds. Sometimes they review plays and, they look, was a runner safe or out, whatever it might be. Did he trap the ball? Did he not? If it's 10 seconds or less, then I'm all for it. I know it takes the human element out a little bit. I don't know what the rules are as far as how many times you throw basically the equivalent of throwing the red challenge flag. How many times does a manager have to try to overturn a call? I don't know. That's part of what the process is. I have to learn all this stuff before the season starts.
Are they able to customize the electronic strike zone based off of the strike zone on the size of each player, right? Like if you have Aaron Judge is going to have a different strike zone than, name someone short, Jose Altuve.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
Perfect example.
So is the electronic strike zone just always in the same spot, or are they able to
a tripod? They move it down.
How do they? That's the only question I have.
Yeah. That's a good point.
This is Doug Ferguson writes golf for the Associated Press. This story came out 2 hours ago, about 3 hours ago. Tiger Woods joined PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan and player director Adam Scott in a second White House meeting today. Another sign the sport is moving rapidly toward ending the division brought on by the Saudi-funded Live Golf. Yasser El Ramoun, governor of the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia and the financial muscle behind the rival league, was scheduled to join the meeting, according to a person briefed on the meeting. The person, speaking on condition of anonymity, because of the meeting is private, said President Donald Trump initiated the meeting and was likely to be a part of it. Don Trump. What do you think? What do you think of the Donald now? He is
trying to broker the deal.
It's much like Jimmy Carter with the Middle East peace process between Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat.
Right. Very similar.
And now think about this. The whole Live thing is going to be solved by Don Trump. Your thoughts? Why are you laughing?
It's like a hell of a comparison. I I think it's...
Well, not as much as that steak. Well, I get that. Middle East peace and then a olive branch between the two rich golfers, but...
I think there's been a move afoot by the Rory McIlroys and Tiger Woods and even some of the golfers on the LIV Tour that realize this is not, I'm saying, sustainable. I mean, it's certainly financially for the Saudis, they have endless amount of money. But from a viewing public, I have yet to meet a lot of people who have watched much or anything of the LIV Tour. There's no one talking about it. They play 3 rounds. There's no stature involved with any tournament you win. We're just talking the fact that the tour is moving to Florida next week and leading eventually, of course, to the Masters in April. There's nothing in the LIV Tour that can compare.
A tradition like none other.
Correct. And so, I mean, I think it's inevitable that this has got to happen. I think players are more open to it on both sides.
You're not willing to give Donald any of the credit.
I don't know what he's involved in. Of course, if he helps,
he brought them together.
Well, I think they probably were getting together anyway, but that's fine. If he wants to get involved with it, great. He's a golfer. He loves to golf.
When I think people that are cool, calm, calculated, would like to work together with people,
Donald comes to mind.
He's the guy, and he's fixing it now, and you're basically dismissing it.
I'm not at all.
All right,
I'm not at all. I hope that happens.
So that's the latest out of the PGA. Well, I saw, like, you can just tell, like, the John Rahms. I mean, he likes the money,
right.
He does, but you can just tell because he was of all those guys, Koepka and Rahm were the two that Mickelson
Correct.
Was basically past his prime, so it didn't matter to him. Yeah. He was just had a vendetta against the PGA. He was mad for several other things about the money, the way it was distributed, and such like that. But Koepka with his 5 majors, and Rahm with his, I think, 2. And Rahm is one of those. He's one of those guys where, like, if you said, who won the 1939 U.S. Open,
he would
be
know.
able to tell you. He was a student of the game. He was a historian, and I think he misses it. I saw a video of him the other day. He was in one of the LIV events. I don't know if he won or he was finishing as the team won or something like that. But the celebration was they take their golf shoe off and they pour champagne into it. He's drinking out of his golf shoe, and I'm sure he's
gross.
Thinking to himself, "Why am I here? Why am I doing this?" And then he looks at the bank account and says, "Well, I guess I know why I'm here." But here's where the controversial part's going to be: is if they do come to an agreement, all those guys are going to be able to come back. And then there will be bitterness from some people, a lot of the golfers, especially the ones that haven't made a lot of money, that stayed.
Right.
They go, well, then you left, and you made $500 million, and now you get to come back with no. So,
obviously, they're able to play in the majors right now. But
it'll be interesting to see. We'll see you next week, correct?
Oh, my God, it's already Thursday.
Yeah, we'll see you at 12 noon on Tuesday. Tenby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed our visit with you today, but stick around. Big ticket out today. JG in for him. Brett Blakemore will be in that chair, and he'll stay in that chair. We'll talk to you tomorrow. By the way, Tenby's out. Max is in. I don't even know what we have for program password, but we have people coming. That'll be at 1 o'clock with Little B, and then program password at 1:30.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.